technology is a huge part of what we're doing to address it. When I first became mayor 4.5 years ago, we were still using laminated sheets that came from some years ago in connection with our routes. Now we're able to better track for our supervisors, frankly for our constituents, and everyone engaged, so we feel incredibly prepared for the storm. We still know there are realities to cold weather. The colder it's going to be in some ways, the harder it's going to be to address this storm. But at the same time, we'll be out there with our crews trying to make sure we can address as quickly as possible.
Is there anything we learned last year that we can apply to the snowfall?
Yeah, I just also want to say thank you to our amazing team. We've got 2 mics behind us. These guys are here 24 hours a day, almost. Director Shaw and Mike Maven, making sure that we've got everyone in the right place at the right time. Every storm, we find something that we can work on. Sometimes we find a route that maybe needs an extra application of salt, or is a little bit colder just because of tree cover, or that it takes a little bit longer to get to certain parts of the city. But rest assured, every single street in this city is covered for every storm. We've got drivers hitting every road, every storm, and out there 24 hours a day, nonstop, until every street is cleared. The thing that we've been working on a lot is that pre-treatment of roads. It's so important to get salt down before the snow starts to fall, to begin to melt. We can't have a plow in every corner every minute, but when you've got salt out there, it starts to melt that snow without us even having to be there. It's so important for the operation.
And the blue ice man is pre-treated?
Yeah, we will, when the temperature gets to like 20 degrees or 25 degrees or so and colder than that, the regular salt is not as effective. And so you'll start to see the trucks coming through here with the blue salt going into it, the magnesium chloride.
Other questions? Just one other thing, as we all know that this weekend we'll have a Chiefs game as well, particularly cold temperatures this weekend. That's part of why we actually talked about our cold weather plan as it relates to those who may need shelter and other opportunities. For those who are going out to Arrowhead Stadium this weekend, we encourage you to dress warmly. Of course, we'll have, as always, different crews out there, but please dress warmly. Ensure that you are prepared for the cold. More than anything, we'll also make sure, to the extent possible, that our roads are ready for any type of either game day traffic and other issues and activities going on around Kansas City. This is Kansas City. It's January. We get winter weather all the time. What we're proud of right now is, thanks to people like the city manager, Director Shaw, Mike, and so many others, we'll make sure that we're ready no matter what comes our way. But whether it's the weather event that is just for today and coming up later this week, or even looking at cold temperatures this weekend, we are prepared at all levels and all phases. And while he's not here right now, I really do want to thank Josh Hinges, who works with our Office of Unhoused Services, and talking about our cold weather program, having spaces for 450 persons in the event we need them if it gets exceedingly cold. Any other questions for you?
Just a quick question for you. Now that we are seeing that the totals are shifting up, what does that change, if anything, for you guys when you go from 2 to 4, 2 to 5 to now possibly 7 inches? When you look at that, does that change anything that you guys were going to do before?
Michael Shaw's team at Public Works, all of our departments, the city's team comes prepared. So I think they're prepared no matter what the contingency, and make sure they have sufficient crews and staffing ready. What that does mean in some situations, however, is that it takes real work, and it may take additional time. And so I know there are some who immediately after a snow event or any wintry event says, why isn't my street cleared immediately thereafter? I think what we are trying to make sure we do is lay out a template for why. You can track what our road crews are doing. You can track the Kansas City snow team and all that's being done in connection with it, and know that we have workers who are out working incredibly hard right now to address the storm, no matter what level it is. We believe in making sure people can get through this city safely, as quickly as possible. We'll do that while making sure we're safe for our workers, our employees, and all in Kansas City. And so for us, additional numbers means a little more work, but our people will be committed to addressing this storm, whether it stops and tapers off right now, or whether it continues and creates an historic blizzard event for us. All right? Thank you.
There are 400 plus drivers that drive for the city, and Brian Platt was saying that they've added about 100 extra drivers over the last couple of years to kind of beef up the snowplow force. They've been out putting salt down today. They've got that the high tech, the blue salt, I guess they call it.
If it gets below a certain temperature.
Yeah, that works better when it gets really cold out. But for now, primarily, they're putting down salt and just making sure that all their snowplow drivers are ready and that they are ready to go around. They emphasized around the clock, and I haven't heard the city of Kansas City talk like that for several years, and saying we're going to go around the clock 24/7 and do everything we can to clear the whole street, not just part of the street, the whole street. So clearly an emphasis here, as we are expecting, and as we're going to hear from Warren in just a second, we are expecting some pretty significant snowfalls, depending on where you live in the metro. So Mayor Quentin Lucas and City Manager Brian Platt getting out in front of this storm, so to speak, to assure residents that the city is doing everything they can on the Kansas City, Missouri side to get ready for this storm that we know is rolling in.
Always much excitement, always much anticipation as you gear up for really that first storm of the season. And this seems to be it as we're building up into even more winter weather heading our way into tomorrow. The mayor making it a point to say extra beds being made available, extra hot meals being made available. Already on Friday, warming centers were being opened up. So clearly around the community, there is a place to go if you need to get out from this weather. And they're also putting out the warning already that if you don't need to be out and running around on these streets, don't. If you can hunker down for a couple of days, that may be the best way to cover it.
We heard a little earlier from Gianni Navarro, who's out in the Storm Track 5 Weather Center, or Storm Tracker, that she seemed to notice the accumulations a little heavier to the north. We want to go straight to St. Joe right now, where our Ryan Hennessy is live in St. Joe. Ryan, we can tell it's snowing there where you're at. Give us an idea of what the conditions are there like in St. Joe right now.
Yeah, Brad, so it's big fat flakes that have been coming down here all day long, and it's really, you know, with our photographer Dwayne Crispo out here, and we've seen about, I'd say, an inch at least fall on top of our heads. So we've just been out here shooting different video and whatnot. It is kind of a slushy deal. Let me see if I can kind of get some. It's more of a slushy. I'm not saying like a snowball you can really throw with this thing. It's definitely more watered down. But I'll tell you what, this is kind of wetter stuff. So when you are driving on this, I mean, there's still a chance for your car to actually hydroplane. So you definitely want to be driving on a slow route here. We talked to MoDOT. They said that's the same thing. They see that actually the conditions out here on the roads actually kind of melting. So the snow actually gets, you know, falls to the ground, melts, and then it's a potential for it to freeze later on. But luckily, we're kind of on one of the major thoroughfares here that actually does get a lot of action. We see a plow just down the road here. See if it's going to come this way. It doesn't look like it. But right now, this has actually been treated. This road has been out here treated. Some of the areas kind of in the more rural sections, it's going to have more snow on top of it. That's going to allow that pavement to get colder and possibly have the potential to freeze. Now, obviously, Missouri Department of Transportation, we talked to them up here today. They said they are starting with some of the major thoroughfares, those 4-lane roads, obviously I-29, U.S. Highway 169 up here. Those are being treated all the time. But when it comes to those kind of those neighborhood roads, those are going to be more on either the county or the streets up here. If you're in a rural area of town, this is the big piece of information I learned from the emergency manager up here. They stop plowing at when the sun actually goes down, because they don't want to risk those plows actually either running off the road because you can't see the road because of all the snow out here. I don't know, see if you can actually see. It's looking pretty good amount of snow falling on my face. I really can see pretty easily, but if it gets darker out here, you can kind of imagine that kind of compounds the issue, so you can't see maybe so many feet ahead of you, and if that road starts to curve and whatnot, it definitely gets dicey out there. So that's why they actually tell their plows to stop plowing when the sun goes down. They'll start the next day, obviously, when the sun comes back up. And really, that's kind of the strategy they have. That's the emergency manager. Now, again, Missouri Department of Transportation, they did talk to me earlier and said that they have kind of their own philosophy on this, that they're dealing with a shortage in plows out there. We're going to be hearing all about that at the 4 o'clock and the 5 o'clock hours. But until then, if you guys want to check back in here as this plow goes by, his blades are still up. Maybe they'll be down the next time you guys check back in out here in St. Joseph. Reporting for KCTV5, Ryan Hennessy. Back to you, Brad and Carolyn.
Yeah, it looks like it is just kind of a slushy mess on the roads there in St. Joe. Ryan, thank you.
I want to show you here live the Kansas City snowplow tracker that the mayor was speaking so highly of. It was not too long ago that we had to kind of just hope from calls going into the city where plows were needed and so forth. Now, this much more high-tech system has been put into place in all the plow systems, and you at home can also log into this and see where your neighborhood is. It's kind of color-coded basically by time. So any of the green routes that you see here are ones that have been treated within the last 4 hours. And then any of the other colors beyond that are more than 4 hours. But that's a good thing. We're seeing here that much of the metro right now has received treatment in some way, whether that be some salt being put down to prepare or even some plowing having occurred here within the last 4 hours. So this is something that we'll continue to monitor, obviously, over the next day or two.
All right, we want to get to KCTV5's Warren Sears. Warren, when this started coming down, at least at my house, boy, it was just like pouring rain this morning and then switched over into snow. So a lot of moisture in this system.
You know what, there really is. And Brad, when we're talking temperatures right at the freezing mark or just over, these systems are incredibly complex. So we expected this. We expected to start as a rain-snow mix. We expected to transition over to mostly snow. I do think the roads stay just wet. Accumulation, not really a big concern as of right now until we get later in the evening. After sunset, temperatures start to cool a little bit. That snow will continue into our Monday night, and that's when I think roads start to turn pretty slick. So thankfully for crews and everyone just kind of easing into the storm, mainly no major impacts right now. But we've watched the storm come through Kansas into this morning, overnight, really into early this morning and through the day, and we have seen some pretty big impacts out in the Sunflower State to what's to come this way. So again, I do expect some deteriorating roads at some point. Still a little bit of a question mark as to when that switch is going to flip. But for now, just wet roads. Into Tuesday, I think our winds pick up significantly in the morning. We'll have more snow lingering to start your day, so likely some concerns for travel to start Tuesday. Once we get into lunch and early afternoon, that's when I think this storm will finally pull to the east. So I'll show you our latest forecast track here. Once we get into the heart of the evening commute, still a lot of this really wet snow. It's going to be heavy at times. So even if we don't have accumulations on the ground, I think visibility is just a big issue out there. So give yourself so much extra time as you're out and about through the rest of your Monday. You'll notice this rain-snow line flirting with our southern communities. And that's why we think there's going to be a bigger drop-off, a steep drop-off just to the south of the city. And that's because it's a little bit warmer down there. Once we get into the overnight and early morning Tuesday, you can notice the back edge of this storm system starts to pull through. But what is a little different is we talked about a dry slot last night. We talked about dry air right here working in. I think because this storm is tracking just a little south, we're not going to see as much of a lull as originally expected, and that's why we're likely going to see snowfall totals a little bit more than originally thought. Still on the couple-inch range for sure. So this back edge of the system will pull through, but not likely until we get to lunch and early afternoon. So expect snow showers to start your day tomorrow, and then eventually we'll quiet down later in the day. But I do think cleanup is still going to be a bit of a mess. So here's my latest thought with snowfall accumulation. The farther south you go, again, the more of a steep cutoff. Still maybe 1 to 4 inches down in that range. We're talking into Anderson, Lynn, down into Bates, Henry counties as well, into Pettis County, and then Benton County. Now you go a little bit more to the north. You got the southern metro here. We're updating this a little bit, maybe in the 4 to 6, maybe some localized higher spots. And then you get into the northern metro, and I do think we'll have a pretty big difference even from those of you in Olathe, from those of you up in Platte City. You'll likely be on the higher range of this. Still, the heaviest band is expected to be across northeast Kansas and northwest, north central Missouri, but it won't be as far away as models were thinking yesterday. So again, a healthy, we haven't seen numbers like this in quite some time, so a healthy dose of snow for sure. The biggest question mark is how much of it's going to melt as it hits the ground first or on the bottom layer. And then once we get into midday tomorrow, we will shut this system off. Another big concern I have for your day tomorrow is really going to be the wind. Right now they do have blizzard conditions out west, so that it's not going to be as significant, but still I think gusts up to 40 miles per hour will be near blizzard conditions. Now, when our temperatures are going to be a little bit on the warmer side, the snow is a little bit larger and more wet. That means it won't blow as much as if it were powdery, but still nonetheless, visibility will be down quite a bit to start your day and even into the early afternoon. So a reminder, winter storm warning has been added and upgraded to the entire metro for Lawrence, out to Topeka, up to St. Joe, up to the Iowa state line, even all the way up to to Des Moines and Omaha. This is a big storm, so any regional travel out there is not going to be great tonight and into our day tomorrow. So please, please, please hunker down if you can. I would say last minute preps, do it now just while our roads are mainly wet. And then the later you go into tonight and tomorrow morning, that's when we're expecting some definitely big travel concerns. So we'll keep a closer eye on latest trends, and we'll talk to you here in just a bit. I'm going to send it back over to you, Brad and Carolyn.
Yeah, it's not going to get better right now. It's going to get worse.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, all right. Warren, thank you.
Sounds like it. Now let's get a closer look once again at the roads, what you may encounter if you are indeed at work, have to head on home, or know of someone that does. This is what they're in for. Let's go back out to Gianni now in our First Warn 5 weather tracker to find out how the conditions look both on the highways, Gianni, and on the side streets as well. Very curious about that.
Yeah, Carolyn. So actually, we went ahead and pulled off the highway to kind of check in on those side streets around the residential area, like you just mentioned. As Mayor Quentin Lucas mentioned, as City Manager Brian Platt mentioned, the snowplows are out in full force. As we see, and they are out as well. But let me go ahead and turn around so I can switch you the camera shot so you can kind of see where we're at right now. We're in a residential area in the KCK area. As you can see, that snow is coming down. You can see a bit of accumulation on the side of the roadways, but of course, as you can see, nothing really piling up on the roadways. Warren has mentioned that nothing is really sticking, but what we do notice is that slush. It's a bit wet from that wintry mix earlier today. The snow is melting, so it's very slushy out on the roadways. It's pretty clear though, so that's a good sign out here. So of course we'll be making our way on the highways, other residential areas, to make sure that things are clear on the roadways, as you know, parents are picking up their kids from school, as people are making their way home as well. Carolyn.
Gianni, thank you so much for keeping us abreast of how the roads are looking at this hour. Clearly right now, the mayor saying if you can stay off the roads, they encourage that. But for now, at least the roads are clearly passable and doable at this hour before our temperatures drop, which is what we're concerned about at this point.
Oh, the temperature's dropping, and then the winds will start howling sometime overnight or tomorrow morning. But yeah, this is kind of the calm before the storm, so to speak. I think that's why the mayor and the city manager for Kansas City were kind of out in front of this storm to tell people what's going on, but to prepare people that, you know, we're going to have some areas of the metro that's really going to be socked with some snow. So we're here all day long. We'll be here all night long watching this storm. All of our meteorologists are on board as we continue to track this storm and to watch it for you, to let you know exactly what's happening.